Hey guys, how's it going? We're here for episode 3, that's 6-3 of Ask Scott. With the Ask Scott show, it's a brand new show just for December. Maybe we'll try it out in 2015. 2015 already? Almost anyway. But right for now, we're releasing new content every day of December. Right through to Christmas Day, so there's a lot of cool stuff going down. Go over to scottsbasslessons.com and check it out. And as I said before, this is the Ask Scott show, so at the end of this episode, if you've got any questions, leave a comment below so I can answer them next time, okay? So let's check out the questions. Cole asks, ear training is my biggest weakness by far. What percentage of my practice should be on ear training? Also, is using interval training software a good idea? Really interesting question. I really like ear training software. It helps. I didn't use it particularly myself, but I've had a lot of students that have used it and I've seen some great results. So I couldn't even tell you the name of any ear training software, but guys have come to me and I've been using this and I've checked them out and they really, they're on it. What worked for me, so with the software thing, go ahead and use ear training software. And what you'll find as well is set it so it's playing major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, minor sevens, major sevens, sharp fives. What you'll find is your ear is just like a muscle and it gets worn out. It's like going to the gym, right? Working out. Not that I go to the gym, as you can see, pretty feeble really. But it's like going to the gym, okay? You get worn out and your ear gets worn out. It's just like a muscle, it gets worn out. So after sort of 15, 20 minutes, your ears are just blown out and you can't hear the difference between a major and a minor chord. But again, just like going to the gym, that will lengthen and your ears will get more tuned into what's going on. It's it's really good. I really recommend using software if you can get your hands on it, because it really gets you laser focused on that particular topic. Whereas, other things, it's not as laser focused, but also at the same time, you should just do a ton of transcribing because that really helps. And transcribing chord sequences, not just melodies. So transcribing melodies is really cool, and one thing I used to do when I was a kid is sit in front of the TV with my parents, and I used to work out the theme tunes on the adverts, on the advertisements. The TV, the actual programs, they were just too long. But when the adverts kicked in, right, the advertisements, there's just loads of theme tunes, right? And I used to just sort of sit there and work them out. And that was really great fun. What also is a great tool to have is working out chord sequences. So being able to listen to a song and knowing that it's chord 1 to chord 5 to chord 6 to 2 to chord what that's a really great tool to have. And again, I'd start with singer-songwriter type stuff is cool to do that with. Really try and hone in on what the chord 1 is and then work out where can you hear 2 5s. To start off with, just try and hear when it goes to that 5 chord. Whenever a tune goes to a 5 chord, really try and think, that's it, it's gone to the 5 chord. And you know when it's gone to the 5 chord because it sounds like this. If it was, say, in the key of E, when it has that 5 and you can hear it going da dee da 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 in your mind, the actual line might not go dee 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 dee, but in your ear you can hear dee 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 da dee da. That's when it's gone to that chord 5 chord, going back to that 1, you're right? So just listen out for that in songs when it's going to that chord 5. See if you can spot that. It's a really good tool to use. Thanks for the question, man. Mikula asks, I've seen you doing a tremolo by sliding your fingers between 2 semitones. It sounds really funky, really good. How can we practice it? Is there any exercises you recommend? Yeah, I use this technique a lot, and it is essentially, let's go rock, okay? What I'm using, I'm always using my 1st or my 4th finger predominantly. Sometimes I use my 3rd, but pretty much all the time it's my 4th, and it's this sound. And what I'm trying to emulate there is that synth bass type, using the vibrato wheel of a synth bass. There was a load of bass lines like that and some Stevie Wonder stuff. Off the Wall with Michael Jackson's got a ton of that stuff on. And that's what I'm trying to emulate. And it kind of came out of, it was completely by accident. I've never sat down and thought, I'm going to do that. I think I just listened to a lot of those tunes and my hands ended up doing that by accident. And then I got a lot of students saying, what are you doing there? And I was like, I've got no idea. Let me check it out. So that's what I'm doing. A lot of it is pentatonic based. So on a C minor, for instance, you know, remember, I'm only doing it with the first, the index and the fourth finger. Yeah, so that's on like a C minor chord, so C minor pentatonic. On a major chord, again, it'd be like a C major pentatonic. Okay, so that's, I'm using the pentatonic shapes because they really lend themselves to it. So how do you get that into your playing? Just do a ton of it. Look at, you know, come up with a few cool minor pentatonic licks, a few cool major pentatonic licks that are predominantly just using the index and the little finger, and then try and get them slides into it. Cool, awesome. Vodtech asks, have you ever been in a situation when you realise you're not making any progress in your playing? Just standing in one point and don't know how to move on with your skills, technique or music knowledge? How do you manage to get over these kind of problems? I've been at that point in my playing. It feels like hundreds, if not thousands of times. I'm only mid-30s, so probably not thousands of times, but like sometimes it feels like my playing has just stood still for, you know, months and it hasn't moved on. And what I really feel like is that the longer you I call it plateauing, right? So you plateau, but as you plateau, just have in mind, the more that you stick in that plateau and just keep pushing, it's going to have a little hockey stick at the end and you'll just feel your game really raise itself. But that could be, you know, it could be a couple of months. It could be 3-4 months, you know, and the gag is that are you going to be the guy that quits or the guy that just sticks it out, you know, because it's so easy to just think, oh, I'm not getting any better. I'm not going to practice, you know, but trust me from like experience, you just stick it out, just keep practicing what you're practicing and then you'll fall upon something happens, don't ask me why, and you'll have that little hockey stick effect and you'll feel that. And for me, it was generally, unfortunately, it wasn't sort of like like a massive, you know, it didn't sort of like, I didn't experience this where my bass playing got better hugely over sort of like 3 months or anything like that. Generally, I felt I'd plateau for a few months and then I'd have this sort of like weird 2 to 4 weeks of like just everything seems, oh, it's working, I've moved on, I learned something, you know, oh, and it's just all coming together. And then I plateau again. So my progression as a bass player went very much like this, along, up, along, up, along, up. It was not like this, okay? It was just these big, long plateaus. And the more advanced I got as a bass player, the longer the plateaus seemed to get. And I think everybody goes through this, okay? I think everybody goes through this. But just stick in, keep going. So to answer your question, yeah, I have had exactly the same thing. And I think the way to help yourself kind of sort of like get through that is just listen to, what I used to do is try and find great music to listen to, stuff that really inspired me, made me think out the box, and then try and learn the bass lines of them new tunes, of the new things I've found. And for me, that is what really helped. Sort of just trying to break free of what you're doing every day, you know, of that sort of like listening to the same stuff. Try and break free, find something new and inspiring that really does it for you on the bass. Get it into your playing, and I think that will really help you get that lift off that you're looking for. Matt asks, any tips for a hobby bass player who wants to really get out there and start gigging? Hey Matt, great question. If you're a hobby bass player and you really want to take it to the next level, start gigging, and then possibly start, you know, looking at, you know, making money from it and gigging professionally, well, the first things first, you've got to get in some bands, you know, and probably not just one band, probably, you know, get in a few different bands, getting used to playing with different guys and different drummers and how their fields differ on the drums it's really great for your bass playing, but it's really great fun as well. And you know, playing lots of different styles of music is a really great tool to have, especially if you want to go from that hobby bass player into actually making a living from it. Being able to recreate and have a knowledge of different styles of music on the bass is such a great skill to have. So being able to create walking bass lines if it calls for it, you know, if somebody wants like a jazz tune or something like that, being able to sort of like do a cool country vibe, reggae, rock, you know, and not only have the bass playing side down, also have an understanding of the actual tone of, you know, that you need as well to create that bass sound. It just gives you that sort of like that extra tool that somebody else might not have, you know, because when you step into that professional world of trying to get gigs as a gigging bass player, you're up against other guys as well. So you want to, you know, make your skill set as broad as possible. So you're the really attractive hire. People are like, yeah, hire that guy, because not only is he really on time, obviously, and you've got nice gear that never breaks down, but also you've got a broad range of styles, and you can do the job. You know, you can do the job. So what I'd really recommend is just get in a few different bands, maybe different styles, and then just explore it from there. And another great tip as well, for getting gigs, if your bass playing's up to it, is getting lessons from the busiest bass players in town. Because if you're really good, they will be like, this guy's really good. They will need a dep or a sub. They'll be calling you, you know. So it's just a really great tip, and that's worked for me in the past many times. Thanks for the can't speak. Thanks for the question, man. Michael asks, if you were stranded on an island for the rest of your life and you were only allowed one bass with you, what would you play? P bass or jazz bass? And why? Michael, it's a tough question. I've got to say, it depends who I was living on the island with. You didn't put that in your question. Like, that's cheating, right? If I was living on the island and there was a super funk band on there and we were like jamming out every night and it was like fat, heavy grooves, it'd be the P bass, just because I love the P bass, and I'll talk about that in 1 minute. If I needed to be more versatile, if there was on the island with me, if there was like a function band and we were doing some pop stuff and then some jazz stuff and then some funk, like slappy type stuff, I'd probably go for a jazz bass just because they're more versatile. A P bass for me does one thing really well. A jazz bass is a little bit more flexible and you can get more out of the sounds. But I am loving the P bass at the minute, I've got to tell you. But the jazz bass, you know, that sound is really flexible. So it depends on who's living on the island. But if we were just playing down and dirty funk, I'd probably take the P bass. I love the P bass as well, especially this one, because the neck's so fat and huge, it alters the way I play. And I mean, in terms of, you know, if I pick up something that's got, you know, a high C string and tiny string spacing, it makes me play in a certain way. Whereas this makes me play and it sound that G string with the flat wounds, you know, it just has a certain feel to it. So it gives you it just kind of alters the way you play. I expect it's kind of like if you drive a Ferrari, you're going to drive in a certain way, right? Whereas if you get in a big, badass, old, classic 1960s car, you're not going to drive it in the same way as you drive a Ferrari. So hopefully that answered your question, man. Thanks again for coming along and checking the show out, guys. As I said earlier, if you've got a question for next week's show, stick a comment below and ask it. We'll go through and then we'll pick some questions and answer them next time. Make sure you go over to scotsbasslessons.com and check out the academy over there. Not only do I do live hangouts every other week where you can ask me questions, you know, whatever you want. We also have guys like Anthony Wellington, Steve Lawson, Todd Johnson, Ed Friedland, Danny Mo Morris, you know, the best bass educators in the business, doing live streams there every week. And we also have full step-by-step courses that get rid of all the guesswork for you. And we've got an absolute kick-ass community as well. So go check out the SBL Academy after this show. Other than that, take it easy and I'll see you next week in the shed.